Previously, Haku had no memory of who he is, but he is able to adapt to his new environment with the help of his guardian, Quan. Haku meets Ukon, and together they fight the monsters and bandits plaguing the country. Will Haku finally recover his memory on his fun-filled adventure? Let's find out. Later that day, a small girl, Nakone, is seen working in the study, but she stops after finding out that her brother is back. Meanwhile, in Hakurakeu, Ukon celebrates his arrival with his men and with his new friends. However, their celebration is interrupted when Nakone opens up the door in force. She scans the room, searches for her brother, and asks Ukon what is he doing. Ukon ignores her and asks her to join in on the celebration, but she refuses his offer. Haku is surprised to hear Hakone call Ukon her brother, as he thought she was his daughter. Ukon laughs at Haku's words, laughing away the pain, I guess. However, Nakone scolds him for celebrating instead of coming to see her. Ukon then whispers a request into her ear, which makes her calm, and he suggests that they all have fun in Hakurokaku's famous bathhouse. This makes Quan happy, as she loses control at the mention of a bath. I thought cats didn't like baths. Quan happily jumps into the bath and starts splashing the water around, while Nakone and Rulutea look on in shock. After noticing that the girls are reluctant to take a swim, Quan decides to steal their towels, forcing them to take a bath. Meanwhile, Haku and Ukon share a drink while talking about the future, but Mororo creeps in, causing Haku to scream. Afterward, Haku wonders if Nakone is really Ukon's sister, and Mororo reveals that Nakone is the youngest Imperial scholar ever, although she has not been approved yet because of her young age. Meanwhile, Nakone wonders what Ukon sees in Haku, as he is not strong, but Quan reveals that he has charisma. She tells Nakone to talk to Haku tomorrow and find out more about him. The following morning, Nakone decides to take Haku and his friends on a tour around the capital. However, her true intention is to find out why Ukon has taken a liking to Haku. They head to the captain's main street, and Rulutie reveals that the city was built by Mikado, the emperor at the time. Haku is surprised at how advanced Mikado was in his time, but Nakone reveals that Mikado is still alive. Although Haku does not believe it, Quan states that Nakone is telling the truth because Mikado is all-knowing and very powerful. Their next stop is the palace, and Haku marvels at the size. He wonders what it is made of, and Quan explains that this is a holy place, so it must be made of holy things. Haku is not impressed by the explanation, and Nakone believes that he is an idiot. They soon return to the market square, and Haku states that it is noisy, but Nakone says that it is the sound of success. While they talk, Oshu rides by on a Waptor, and he is praised by the people. Haku wonders why Oshu is so popular with the people, and Nakone states that he is way cooler than Haku. Shortly after the tour, Nakone discovers that Haku doesn't have a job, and they decide to find a job for him. They find a job for him waiting tables, but Nakone is doubtful that he can pull it off. Later that day, Haku explains his day to Quan and gives her his pay for the day. She thanks him for working so hard, even though the money can barely cover a single meal, and Nakone calls him out on it. She hands him a letter, but Haku is unable to read, and Nakone informs him that the letter is an invitation from Ukon. Later on, they arrive at the study, but they are surprised to meet Oshu inside, instead of Ukon. He offers them a job based on Mororo's recommendation, even though Haku assumed it was Ukon who recommended him. Quan reveals that she already guessed it after they met in town earlier. Oshu scolds Haku for not recognizing him, and he takes off his mask. It turns out it was Ukon all along, and he states that his true identity is the general of the right, Oshutaru. At night, two mysterious figures covered in black speak to an old man and a woman in secret. They state that they have found him, and the old man is happy to hear the news. The following morning, Haku and Quan are busy cleaning outside, but he soon becomes tired and complains about the pains of manual labor. Soon after, they are interrupted by Ukon, who informs them that he has a mission for them. Later that day, while taking a bath with Ukon, Haku remembers the latter hiring him and Quan to protect the capital city. Although Quan is skeptical about accepting such a mission because of the risks involved, she is easily convinced with a bag of gold. However, Haku is still concerned, even though Quan tries to convince him that they are going to be having a lot of fun. In the present, Haku voices his concern at the sudden change of mission, as he was expecting more danger, and Ukon assures him that it will be dangerous once in a while. Back at the inn, Quan and Haku discover that their work around the city is odd jobs rather than dangerous missions. Realizing that their work involves menial jobs, Haku suggests skipping them and living off Ukon's advance payment for a while. However, he finds out that Kwon has already spent the money securing accommodation at the Hakurakaku, and this makes him sad. While they talk, Nakoni arrives and justifies Kwon's decision, but Haku figures out that all they really want is to enjoy the bath. Moments after, Kwon forces Haku to study, and he wonders why the girls are punishing him by making him read. Haku quickly gets through the huge stack of books at night while working odd jobs during the day. Haku develops quickly, prompting Nakoni and Kwon to increase his workload, much to his dismay. Nakoni starts to acknowledge what her brother sees in him, but after studying for a long time, Haku contemplates stopping for the night as he is tired, and Rulutea brings him some tea. She encourages him to take a rest, but he sees her words as motivation and decides to continue his studying. Not long after, Haku is completely exhausted and tries to convince Kwon to grant him a break. However, she suggests it herself, and Haku leaves happily. Kwon tries to take a rest too, but she is soon interrupted by Ukon, who requests her assistance for an urgent mission. Meanwhile, Haku goes to the market and buys a kebab to celebrate his newly found success. However, his success is cut short after a girl, Atai, stumbles into him and knocks the snack from his hand. Haku tries to pick it back up while Atai apologizes, but she pushes him down again, smearing mud all over his face as she narrowly escapes an arrow. A blonde archer approaches and warns her not to run anymore, or the next arrow will go through her heart. Saddened over the state of his snack, Haku doesn't listen to the archer's demands, stating that he lets go of the girl. Atai states that she would rather die than return with the archer and decides to live with Haku, even though he has no idea what is going on. The archer then aims at Haku, leaving him no other option than to run with Atai. Elsewhere, at the inn, Kwon and Nakoni go for their new mission, but they ask Rulutai to inform Haku about the mission when he returns. Haku continues to run away from danger, and Atai apologizes for putting him in the danger. She confesses that she is a runaway, and her father must have sent the archer to bring her back. Haku suggests that she returns home, but Atai states that she is seeking true love in the capital. Haku tries to ditch her and leave, but she manages to convince him into giving her a tour of the city. They have fun on the tour as Atai starts to take a liking to Haku, as she blushes throughout the tour, although the archer tries to kill them a few times. Meanwhile, Kwon and Nakoni are close to their target. While coming to the end of the tour, the masked archer attacks, but Atai manages to get him out of the way. He demands that she comes with him, but Haku states that they cannot trust a man with a mask on his face. The archer accidentally reveals that he is just carrying out his big brother's request, but they continue to tease him. While they talk, Nakoni and Kwon arrive, prompting the archer to call out to Nakoni, but she denies knowing someone so suspicious. The archer then removes his mask and reveals himself to be Kiru. It turns out that Ukon also asked him to find Atai just as he sent Kwon and Nakoni. Haku is surprised at just how a runaway girl could garner so much attention and finds out that she is a proper princess, the daughter of Soyan Kakur, the aloe of Xiahoro. Atai reluctantly agrees to return home, even though she still wants to find love. Later that night, Ukon and Haku share a drink. Ukon compliments him for his efforts, and Haku reveals that he will stay till he finds another job with better pay. Moments after, Kiru joins the team at Ukon's request and introduces himself to Haku and his friends, but Nakoni seems unimpressed. They are joined by Atai, who reveals that she now lives next to them at the inn. Haku decides to spend some time in the bath, but he spots a woman, Karuleu, naked on the other side of the bath, drinking sake, and he decides to leave immediately. However, the mysterious lady calls him back, and they share a drink together. He notices that she has a big chain on her neck and asks her about it, but the lady avoids the question. She asks for his name, and she has a sudden reaction when he tells her, although she doesn't show it. He tells her that he is staying at the inn, and she reveals that she is going to see him soon. Back in his room, Kwon walks in and finds Haku reading a letter of invitation from the owner of the inn, the girl he met earlier. He asks Kwon to join him at the banquet, and she agrees because of the food and drinks at the banquet, which takes place on the top floor. They look at the city through the balcony and marvel at the view. Kwon then notices a puzzle. She solves it quickly, and the passage through the ceiling opens. However, she feels uneasy about it and tries to persuade Haku to leave with her, but Haku insists. He climbs the stairs and enters a dark room filled with violet steam steam coming from a scented pot. He looks around the room but doesn't notice Karulao appear behind him, and she lets out a smile. Kwon decides to look for him and sees Karulao on top of Haku. She tries to leave, but Karulao stops her by calling her name. She turns to Haku and reveals that he reminds her of someone from her past. Later on, they settle down, and it turns out Kwon and Karulao have a mother-daughter relationship, although Karulao hates being called mother, so Kwon calls her sister. She informs Haku that Karulao is her big sister till she disappeared 3 years ago, and she has not been seen ever since. Karulao then calls her maid to bring food and tea for her guest, but Kwon notices that the maid is Tuka. The maid denies it, but Kwon states that she is as clumsy as ever. Haku notices that Kwon's mothers are formal and stiff while asking about their daughter's well-being, even though they have not seen each other in a long time. Kwon disagrees and asks why Karulao invited them over for a banquet. Haku then insists on drinking and having fun, to which Karulao agrees and proposes that they play a drinking game. Kwon tells Haku not to drink with Karulao, but he doesn't listen and loses to Karulao, who is unaffected by the amount of alcohol she has consumed. Haku passes out, and Karulao wonders why Kwon is no longer the free-spirited girl she used to know. She reminisces about the moment they found her drunk with sake in her hand, and an embarrassed Kwon tries to shut them up. She reveals that she is still a kid in their eyes, and that is why she is too embarrassed to face them, because she looks up to them. Tuka reveals that she was also ashamed to meet Kwon because she left her alone for many years. Afterward, they have a banquet, but Kwon is unable to eat as much as she used to, which surprises Karulao. After the banquet, Karulao reveals that it cannot be a mere coincidence that they are at the inn at the same time. They decide to stay a little and investigate the city. Later on, they all take a bath together, and Kwon is surprised to see her mother offer her sake. They state that she is now an adult in their eyes, and she is happy to hear their acknowledgement. Kwon figures out it is the same sake she stole a long time ago, and she smiles as she takes a drink. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If this video is the most popular of our latest collection of recaps, we will make a part 3. Let us know what series you want us to recap next in the comments below.